What is happening, guys? Call of Duty Black Ops Kid here, coming at you with some important next-gen console information. We have graphic leak, CPU, some other stuff, PlayStation 5 and Xbox related, so let's get right into it. According to a lengthy report from Digital Foundry, the PS5 will reportedly feature a 9.2 teraflop GPU. Compared that to the PlayStation 4, which was a theoretical max of 1.84 teraflops. The PlayStation 5 will reportedly feature DDR6 memory, which is identical to the AMD RX 5700 series Navi card. If you want to compare that to what we kind of know already in terms of what we already know with graphical power. Overall, the DF report lays out the alleged unconfirmed PS5's GPU capabilities, 36 Navi compute units at 2000 megahertz. The PS4 Pro uses 36 GCN compute units at 911 megahertz for reference. The report also suggests that the alleged PS5 GPU will also be able to switch between 3 modes in order to offer backwards compatibility with PS4 and PS4 Pro titles, while Gen 2 mode is evidently what the PS5 will normally be running next-gen games on. According to the report, its separate Gen 1 and Gen 0 modes allow backwards compatibility. The Gen 1 mode features the exact same metrics as a PS4 Pro, 36 compute units, 911 megahertz core clock, and 218 gigabytes per second of memory bandwidth of 64 ROPs. So that's a lot of interesting things. They have a lot of people keep saying that they want the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 to go backwards even further to PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 1 games. PS4 can kind of do this with like the PlayStation Now service, or be able to download the games but not actually put a disc in and play the games. Not compare what the Xbox is already going to be doing with their next Xbox Series X, or the Xbox, or whatever they decide to whatever they decide to call it. The Xbox will be able to play original Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One games, of course, and of course the Xbox Series X games. The Xbox Series X GPU, the report suggests that it's a less comprehensive data, but points to some interesting notes. A processor referenced to as Ardent is found in the data acquired, but is not incomplete. The DF suggests that the supposed Xbox Series X GPU, as frankly ginormous, with a science pointing to a possible target of 12 teraflops. And speculation about 12 teraflops has been swirling around some time now. And meanwhile, the PlayStation 5 spec outlined in the leak towards a device which is more of a balance between price and performance. DF Richards writes, assuming we're not looking at an implausible 16 gigabytes of DDR6 and a 1 terabyte SSD. This is still an expensive looking device, but stacked up against a monstrous Series X, this obvious stands out and more of a chance of hitting the magic $400 launch at price. So the PlayStation 4 Pro right now is $400, so I would assume $100 more possibly for a PlayStation 5. That's what I can only suggest. I would say $499. I wouldn't assume anything more than that at that price point. But there's no actual pricing for this, and the PlayStation 4 Pro is for $400, so I would assume $500 for a little bit more graphical power and an SSD would make sense. SSDs are extremely cheap going on right now, so it is possible that the PlayStation 5 would be about $500. Of course, all this information is leak and is also taken with a grain of salt, so do not be like Dylan. 16 gigabytes of DDR4 or DDR6 memory is basically what a RTX 2080 Ti can do. Basically, NVIDIA just announced that they are going to be basically putting out a graphics card that is going to be like 2080 Ti performance. It's been in the leaks for quite some time now. Consoles be seeing this performance? Most likely, yes. It's most likely going to be happening with a 2080 Ti performance with like maybe the Xbox One X, and then of course maybe, well, I'd say 2080 performance. I wouldn't say Ti, maybe 2080 performance. and then maybe the PS5 is more of like a 5700 XT like performance, so like a 2070 in those performances. Other than that, CPU wise, it doesn't really go into super good detail. I would assume, especially right now with AMD going crazy, I would assume more of like a CPU of probably like a Ryzen 5 3500, or even something like a Ryzen 7 2700, or maybe I would suggest probably more like a Ryzen 5 3600, where it's got really good threads. So the original Xbox One had 8 cores, so I would assume it would probably be the same thing. Maybe, yeah, I'd probably say more like a Ryzen 7 2700, where it has 8 cores. And because I feel like the consoles have been doing that for a while. I mean, I know Xbox One and PS4 had like an 8-core processor. I don't know really about PlayStation 4, but I would assume probably something to like that kind of performance. I know like the CPUs and consoles aren't really all that great, really. It's mainly about graphical power. They use an APU, so it's graphic and CPU. And usually like a Ryzen 2700 is about $150, so it's possible that we could see that kind of performance in a console with that good amount of graphical power, which is pretty insane. You know, and usually about 400 watts of draw power, I would assume. I'm not really sure. They're not a whole lot of super solid things, and that would be what most likely the Xbox One did and the PlayStation 4 did with like wattage and all that kind of stuff. It would be really exciting for when we actually get an unveiling of all this confirmed knowledge. We're not 100% sure, like I said. These are all core speculations and leaks from other individuals, but it's most likely going to be good. There's the share button on the Xbox One, which is kind of bringing, kind of possibly like the Xbox, like the PlayStation 4, where they have the sharing and you could stream right from there and YouTube, and hopefully the Xbox does that because that's something that PS4 did 100% right. And possibly being able to share maybe a little bit better feed system through Xbox. PS4 leaked controller. It's been leaked for quite a while now. It's basically the exact same. They did put a Type-C port instead of a USB, which is something that is a lot of, I mean, everything's going to Type-C now, and you know that would be something really nice. And the controller looks really good. It's not really changed. It's a little bit bulkier from what we've been saying compared to the original PS4. It's just a little bit bigger, but that's about it. Of course, they have the headphone jack, all that good stuff, and of course the touchpad, stuff like that. A little bit bulkier Type-C, basically still the same like touchpad thing that we had with the PlayStation 4. The only main difference is possibly on the back. They're going to be having like a programmable button. So yeah, I guess there's going to be possibly 2 programmable buttons like the Xbox Series 2 controller has, like the Elite. That's kind of like basically like the same thing as like one of these guys where it has the buttons here, that kind of thing. It does show 2 things up here, which I do believe are just screws. There's nothing super crazy looking about it. It looks pretty good. And of course everyone loves the programmable buttons. Myself, a controller just isn't the same without programmable buttons. It's really nice to have that kind of thing. So that's a lot of good leaks. And of course, with next generation and speculation, it's hard to really say whether or not this is actually 100% or not. Most likely leaks most of the time nowadays are pretty solid for the most part, but do of course take it with a grain of salt because I'm not an expert. I don't work for Microsoft or Sony, so most likely take it with a grain of salt, but these are most likely going to be the leak specs until we get a little bit more information coming further down the line. If you guys really enjoyed the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe for more great content just like this, and or other news daily just like this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
10 seconds.
Get out of here, fucking Mark Twang! Fucking dickhead. What? He stole my kill! Alright, we gotta fucking keep camping. We got this, Beans.
No, dude, he's got like fucking 3 HP. 10. No way, dude.
Hard day, but we'll come back strong.
How? How does he know right where he's at, dude? This fucking game. I can never get past the 3rd round, and when I do, I get slaughtered in the tournaments. These guys are probably talking.